Greetings, this is James Gillen with As You Wish Talk Radio. We've got another great show tonight. I've got Keith Blanchard. He's a spiritual teacher, intuitive speaker, extraterrestrial target, healer of vibrational medicine, Radionics, a professional musician, composer, sound engineer, bassist, guitarist, singer, and best-selling author and composer. And Keith was born on November 30th, 1963, and I guess it's Houma, I hope I said that right, Louisiana, and had typical middle-class Catholic upbringing. In his early teens, he often entertained himself by pondering the big questions about God and the universe. Little did he know that the day would come when those questions would form the spiritual foundation upon which he would build the rest of his life. In his late 20s, Keith went through a crisis that stripped him of everything he held dear and left him with no choice but to turn inward for answers. This he did, but the peace and stability he so wanted still eluded him. He was 32. Celestial beings began to appear him, sharing glimpses of his future in the world and the world. So, not only did they enlighten and guide him, but they instructed him to pass their message on to others so that they too could learn in a higher way and higher way of living. Now in his 40s and living a peaceful, stable life, Keith continues to pursue his passion to both learn and teach about truth. So with that said, I want to bring Keith on the show. Keith, are you with us?
I am. Hi, James.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me. I've been reviewing a lot of your work, and this is actually a fantastic moment for me to talk to you and bounce some ideas off each other and share some experiences. I'm excited. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, it sounds like we have a lot in common. It's like recovering Catholic. I had to go to a Catholic school when I was a kid and got in trouble there quite a bit for asking all the wrong questions, and
right.
And the ET connection as well. So basically, I'd love to get into what really turned you, into this genre, what moved you in this direction.
James, all of my life, as far back as I can remember, there was a fire burning inside of me, and I was a very curious little boy. I wanted answers, and just what was being supplied to me through Catholicism, parents, and peers. I was just instantly hungry for knowledge and information. I was an altar boy. Age of 15, I was seriously thinking of becoming a Catholic priest. And if you knew me, that would be somewhat humorous. My dad puts a guitar in front of me. I lived the lifestyle of a rock musician. I've traveled, I've toured with world-class players. But when I went to the guitar, I started feeling empty again. It wasn't really the guitar, it was the application, because with that mindset, I thought God and music could not coexist. Spirituality and music were two different beings entirely. And I started dating this girl, and we did that dance for 10 years. And finally, she resolved the relationship, and I found myself on my knees. I was humbled. I was having a dark night of the soul for 2 years. I mean, I was depressed, heart pangs, and I found myself saying this prayer out loud. I need to hear your voice, meaning God. Though I said this prayer for 3 weeks to a month, I don't think it's the length of time that I said it that made what was to happen next transpire. It was my passion, my sincerity, and my first asking. And one night after playing music, I was playing a casino. We did 5 sets, and for a musician, that's a long time for playing. So I'll come home very tired, and the next morning I was awakened out of my sleep by a voice. Assuming someone was in my house, I sit up in bed, and there's no one there. dismissed it as a dream voice, laid back down, and the voice begins to speak to me again. And at this point, I knew that something was happening. I was thrown back on the bed, my eyes closed, and I found myself standing in the presence of what I can say is God. People ask me the question all the time, James, how do you know that's God you were talking to? I say, well, that question is pretty silly. How can you not know when you're standing in the presence of the Absolute? And when this voice would begin to speak, James, it would not only come in the form of an audible sound, be it telepathy, or there was actually an audible tone as well, but I could see what it was saying. I could smell what it was saying. I can taste what it was saying. It was a super conscious experience. It was every place in my proximity. It was everywhere. I knew the molecules in the wall, why they were there, where they come from, where they were going next. And the voice begins to instruct me. Now, when I say instruct me, keep in mind, this experience, James, was not a linear experience. It wasn't thoughts that follow thoughts. This was one impression, and in this impression was everything this presence wanted from me. And basically instructs me to sit on my sofa, press record on my tape player, close my eyes, and let my mouth move. And out came the most far-out material I've ever heard to that very point in my life. And so for 8 years, I shaped the book called The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth, which went bestseller as of last November. But I've been searching for truth and meaning all my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you probably came in for this, and then you really usually don't know it until later, but, it's like we're usually incarnated for these events, and then when they happen, we go, what the heck was that,
And that you say that. Before that experience, James, with that voice, I never saw this coming. But as soon as it happened, I always knew it was supposed to.
Yeah, so how'd you feel after that experience? I mean, I know it's totally transforming. And then, how'd you relate to your life and the outer world after that experience?
Honestly, I was scared. And I don't mean my fear was an active fear. I mean, my fear was, I wasn't scared of the presence nor the message. My fear was, what's going to become of my comfortable life now? The rug of reality was pulled out from under me. And after this experience was done, that day, I didn't know how to feel. It was so high vibrational, I couldn't stop crying. And then sometimes when I go into these God sessions, if you will, as I would write every day, I would just go into these 2-minute crying spells. And the higher voice, my higher self, whatever term you use for God, shared with me that, Keith, you've never felt this level of energy come into your body. And so crying is a way to burn it off.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that happened with me when I was with the Tibetan Foundation. I had that, the first time when I had the drowning experience, there was just a golden light. There was nothing there. There was no beings, nothing. And the second time, I ran into, a golden being with long golden beard and golden hair, golden robes, everything. Just more of an energy being that looked just like what most people would think God would look like, and all I could do was cry. I mean, that's all I could do. I just had tears streaming down my face, and people were asking me, what's going on? What's happening? They kept asking me over and over, and I just kept saying no words. That's all I could say is, there's no words for this experience.
And, James, after this, my initial experience happened, it was somewhat difficult for me to speak as well. And one, I didn't want to soil the experience. Two, I couldn't find words in my noggin to even describe what was happening. I honestly couldn't. And I felt somewhat that it would be wrong if I would talk, just to speak about anything. Not wrong, but I meant that as a way of describing that it wouldn't be appropriate to speak right now.
Mm-hmm. Now, were your friends and family and everybody else, how did they take this transition?
My parents, I grew up in South Louisiana. My parents were great parents. Their way was still Catholic back then, and, that's just Keith. That's just how he is, and very lovingly accepting me. The people around me in the immediate proximity of my life at the time friends, being a musician, James, I don't know about you, but when this happened for me, when I found it okay to speak, I had to tell somebody. I was going to pop. And so I told a couple of friends that I trusted, and eventually over a period of time, word got out that Keith is writing this very far-out book, claiming he has conversation with his higher self, And I've seen people back away and distance themselves, and understandably, and I supported them in their path. And now it's all full circle. Those very people are supportive now. After many, many years coming back around, it's because I play music. I might see them 10 years later, and they're asking me how things are going. The next thing you know, these are the people buying the work.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. With a lot of my friends, because I was in a different world. I was in the world of commercial real estate, and I was living in Orange County, which at the time was about as unspiritual as you can get. It was just a very material world, and I couldn't function anymore. I had to get out of there. Because I had this ability as a kid. I was very telepathic as a kid and very sensitive, and I blew right back into that old reality. And I would hear what people thought and what they felt and what they were saying, and there were three different levels all coming in at once. And I was just and just it was just such a manipulative, backstabbing world. Just profit first. I just couldn't handle it anymore. I just said, I gotta get out of here. And it was the best thing I ever did, was to move out of that world and kind of move into a different reality.
What age did your near-death experience, the golden being, take place, James? I mean, how old were you is what I meant to ask.
I think I was about 25.
25.
I won't tell you how old I am now. It'd scare you.
But you got all those helpers around you.
Yeah.
James, what do you think of this? Have you seen the video clip of this UFO in Jerusalem that they have three different perspectives of? Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah, I have. Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Does that to you look like a being versus a ship?
Well, yeah, maybe what I've seen is these ultra-dimensional beings. The way it was moving, it almost seemed like an ultra-dimensional being. It's hard for me to tell, because they're both synonymous, because they have their ships, and their ships are not like ours, and then they have the ability to bilocate and do whatever they want. And it was acting more like a being, I thought, like a light being, but who knows? I haven't even had a chance to look into that, because I just basically landed. I've been in Mexico for 3 weeks, and I looked at the footage, but I haven't really looked into it. But what's your take on that?
I absolutely agree with you. It looks alive. I mean, it looks like a being more so than it does a ship. And though I know many ships are alive as well, this truly, to me, looks like a being. Intuitively, it feels like a being.
Because we have these here all the time, and the way it moved, I actually have footage of these orbs coming in and messing around with us, and one came right up to us, and it moved exactly like that one did, kind of back and forth in front of the camera. It moved just like that, and then it's gone, and took off. And I go, wow, that acted just like one of the orbs, which are light beams that we filmed. So, who knows? I'm not, but it was probably, to me, it was some kind of an ultra-dimensional experience, unfolding there.
I got a big kick out of that. A friend of mine named Judy sent that to me, and I just got a biggest kick. It's one of the more funner videos I've seen in a while. But I've watched your stuff.